That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, y'all know that we answer questions every single day, hundreds of questions down there in the comment section. At the same time, I go through and live stream every single night. We have live streamed like 100 days in a row at this point answering questions. And what we also do, just in case I have not been able to get to your question, even though we've answered thousands already this week, we go out, we send out a last minute tweet to go through and get some last minute start sit questions answered. So yeah, we're going to go through, we're going to talk about some start sit matchups. We're going to talk about some of these intriguing spots, especially now that we have some more clarity on a few of these injuries. And a video coming out later today will go through and discuss the up-to-date, at least most recent up-to-date injuries that we have for this week. But yeah, let's go through and let's pick some random comments to give away a Fantasy Flock Network hat to. We're shipping out literally maybe 50 hats today. So yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of work putting these hats together, but y'all have had a ridiculous season so far supporting this channel, so I want to. And now let's pick this first one coming out. I believe this is from Gabriel S., who says, keep up the good work. Thank you so much, my friend. And then our next one's going to be coming out from Gianfranco Paterno, who says, happy early birthday, man. Keep up the great work. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. And yeah, all you have to do is go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment to get entered in to win a Fantasy Flock Network hat. And if you go make a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, where there will be a bunch of player props you can look at for these players this week, there will also be drafts that you can hop into right now for the rest of the season. So yeah, I mean, a ton of fun things going over there on Underdog Fantasy. Make sure y'all go through a link in the description of the video or in the comment section and deposit $10 with promo code FLOCK. And when you do that, you get daily additional entries to win a Fantasy Flock Network. I mean, from now until the end of the season. You also get a max deposit bonus, and you support this channel more than you would ever believe. We are live streaming tonight, and I'll be turning 23 tonight, and I promise you, there's no better birthday present you could give me than going through and just depositing $10 on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. And yeah, let's go through it. Let's dive into these questions. Our first one going to come out from Ashton, who says, Godwin, AJ Brown, Mike Williams, Allen Robinson, start three. Okay, so I know Mike Williams disappointing this past week. I believe he only had like 2 fantasy points, but still you're looking at the overall season. Mike Williams still has been a top 10 wide receiver on a per game basis. You're looking at the fact that he has just a completely new role in this Los Angeles Chargers offense. Obviously, this offensive line has taken a significant step forward from where they were a year ago. At the same time, Justin Herbert looks exactly like the quarterback you wanted him to be. So yeah, you're jamming in Mike Williams, even though it's a tougher matchup against the Cleveland Browns. You're starting Chris Godwin. I mean, with Chris Godwin here going up against the Miami Dolphins, you're not expecting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to have to continuously drop back and throw the ball aggressively downfield. But still, this has been a team that's been near the top of the NFL, if not the number 1 team in the NFL in pass rate over expectations. So you have to go Chris Godwin. Really comes down to AJ Brown coming back from injury or Allen Robinson. Now, we do not have an official ruling on if AJ Brown will be playing on Sunday at the time of this recording. I'm recording this on October 8th, but on Saturday, I'd imagine that we probably have some clarity in this situation. And if AJ Brown is good to go, especially if Julio Jones is going to be out this week, you have to go through, you have to play AJ Brown. We actually have another question about AJ Brown at the end of the video, so we'll be talking about him a little more in depth. But Allen Robinson right now, I mean, this is the wide receiver 70 so far in the season. Justin Fields looks like he's one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL as of now. Just like we say with Zach Wilson, I don't give a damn why you're coming out here and trying to blame it on the offensive line, on the head coach, on the quarterback. It doesn't matter the reason that these quarterbacks are failing. What matters is the quarterback play is not up to par. I mean, all that matters is the Allen Robinson fantasy points per game output at the end of the week. Does it matter if the offensive line is the reason that Justin Fields is failing? Does it matter if Justin Fields is the reason Justin Fields is failing? The fact is, Justin Fields is failing. So we're going to have to go through, start AJ Brown if he is good to go. And Thomas, I apologize if I'm just now saying this, but please make sure you're going through and putting up the player props on the screen so people get a good sense of what Underdog Fantasy is predicting for these players. Because keep in mind, while you can go through, and we've been profitable every single week on Underdog Fantasy so far this season, and we've been very transparent about that, showing the screenshots on the channel. But obviously, Underdog Fantasy, they have to be making money. I would assume that Underdog Fantasy is probably going to be beating us in the long term, knowing that they wouldn't be putting out these lines every single week if they were losing losing money. They wouldn't be paying me to get y'all to sign up if they were losing money. So I'd imagine Underdog Fantasy, those over-under player props they have are pretty damn good if they're going to be making money off them. So I think looking at those is also going to be another useful tool in making your start sit decisions. Now, our next question going to come out from Tyler King here, who says Darnell Mooney or Laviska Shenault. Yeah, so with Shenault, I mean, this was a wide receiver that did take that step up this past week with the DJ Chark injury. Now, it was a great matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, but we got some great news for everybody here. You actually have another great matchup against the Tennessee Titans. This Titans defense has looked atrocious. They just let Zach Wilson move the ball down the field against them this past week. So yeah, I think you have to go Laviska Shenault here. Not really a big decision for me whenever we have DJ Chark out the rest of the season. Personally, I know that we had Laviska Shenault ranked higher than Marvin Jones coming into the year. We actually corrected that in our most recent up-to-date rest of season rankings, where we do have Marvin Jones higher than Laviska Shenault. But I think Shenault is a fine play this week if you're just looking at the role that he should have in this offense with no DJ Chark in a plus matchup. And I think we can assume that Trevor Lawrence is most likely going to continue to improve. And Darnell Mooney, I know he put up an impressive week this past week, but Darnell Mooney, in my opinion, is not as talented as Laviska Shenault. Darnell Mooney doesn't have as good of a matchup as Laviska Shenault. Darnell Mooney doesn't have as good of a quarterback as Laviska Shenault. So we're going to go Visca. Okay, so Rambo coming out with our next question, who says Chase Edmonds or Cordell Patterson. And if you think Edmonds, should I start Patterson over Higgins as my wide receiver 3? Okay, I'll say I would definitely just go through and bench Chase Edmonds here. Now with Chase Edmonds, yes, he's going to be playing in a much better offense. And I think there's an argument to be made to have Chase Edmonds possibly for the rest of the season. But with Cordell Patterson here, if I answered a question for you at the beginning of the week where I potentially told you to go through and start a player over Patterson, things have drastically changed now that we are not going to have Calvin Ridley in this game, because a big thing with Patterson is you're looking at the receiving down usage and you're kind of saying that with no Russell Gage here, I mean, I think that's a big reason he was getting this amount of targets in his offense, even if he wasn't playing a consistent amount of snaps. So here, now that you have no Calvin Ridley, no Russell Gage for this week, now Kyle Pitts, yes, is going to get a ton of targets. Kyle Pitts can easily be a top 3 tight end this week. At the same time, Cordell Patterson, you wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, they have to use him in a different way. They have to be a little more creative with them. And it's like, it would be different if he's going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? And we're saying, okay, well, even if he's going up against the Buccaneers, I mean, maybe they have to use him, but we can easily see this Atlanta Falcons offense just crumbling to that defense. So it may not necessarily matter as much. Well, that's not going to be the case going up against the New York Jets. I mean, the New York Jets, I think the Atlanta is most likely going to move the ball down the field regardless. They may not necessarily be extremely efficient while they do so. But yeah, Cordell Patterson will be in a position where he could potentially walk away with the touchdown as well. I mean, he's literally averaging more than a touchdown a game. No Calvin Ridley here. You definitely have to bump up Cordell Patterson. Now, our next question coming out from someone who's always out in the live streams, coming out from Diet Powerade, saying, Mike Williams or Aaron Jones at the flex this week. Please help Mason. I'm so stuck. Obviously, it's a troll question. Yeah, you're going to Aaron Jones. I think that we just had to pull that up because it did make me laugh. Now, our next question coming out from Dylan says, Leonard Fournette, Allen Robinson, or Corey Davis. Okay, so here, I'll say this is a spot where I'm not necessarily 100% comfortable just going through and saying you 100% want to go with Leonard Fournette here. But Fournette is in a significantly better position this week than what we have seen so far this year. I mean, it's probably the best matchup that he has so far against the Miami Dolphins. I know some people want to make the argument that the Dolphins have a great defense, but let me pull this up real quick with what we have seen from Miami, because, I mean, I am happy to try to walk this statement back if I've been proven wrong, but we've been betting against this Miami Dolphins defense all year now, and I feel like we've been very profitable while doing so. And here, yeah, the Dolphins gave up 27 points to the Colts this past week. They gave up 31 to the Raiders the week before that, 35 to the Bills the week before that. I mean, here you're looking at that Bills game, and you actually have 3 combined rushing touchdowns for Zach Moss, Devin Singletary. And in that Raiders matchup, I mean, you did have Peyton Barber going over 100 rushing yards, Peyton freaking Barber. And then against the Colts this past week, you have Jonathan Taylor going over 100 rushing yards. So yeah, I think that you actually want to be attacking this Miami Dolphins defense. Now, a big thing is trying to track the injury with Giovanni Bernard. If Gio's going to be playing this game, I think you have to lower your expectations with Leonard Fournette based on the fact that Giovanni Bernard has proven that he is going to have the receiving down role on obvious passing down situations for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. But Fournette was that prototypical workhorse bell cow running back this past week with no Giovanni Bernard in there. So yeah, I think you actually have to go Leonard Fournette against the Miami Dolphins just because it's a great matchup Fournette looked really good this past week against the New England Patriots, and he can't have that workload. Even if I didn't like Fournette coming into the season, I can't sit here and just go, oh, well, we got to go Allen Robinson. No, I mean, we have to change our priors. We have to definitely make sure that we are adjusting with new information coming in. Now, our next question, going right back to what we were having with A.J. Brown. Now, this is not necessarily a start-sit question, but we're going to actually answer 2 questions like this. And the first one, essentially asking our thoughts on A.J. Brown. I really wanted to cover this just because now that we do have A.J. Brown possibly coming back this Sunday, I want to let everyone know this is probably the cheapest you are going to be able to buy A.J. Brown for probably the next 5 years. I mean, A.J. Brown, based on the efficiency that he showed us through the first 2 years in his NFL career. I mean, if we're going to go through, pull this up in our draft guide from this past season. I mean, here, A.J. Brown, he had over a 10% touchdown rate in 2020. He actually had more than 10 receiving yards per target as well in 2020. And as a rookie, he was the most efficient wide receiver in the entire NFL. If you're going to be looking at what he was able to do as an Alpha X wide receiver here, where he only averaged 5 targets a game, came away with 66 receiving yards a game at the same time. I mean, A.J. Brown has demonstrated through the first 2 years of his NFL career as a rookie and as a second-year player that he is an elite premier talent at the wide receiver position in the NFL. Now, there's no reason in hell for you to assume that A.J. Brown is less talented than he was the first 2 years in his NFL career going into year 3. So a big question is, well, if he's not going to live up to expectations, is that based off the role changing in the offense? Is that based on him not necessarily getting as much volume with no Julio Jones here? Well, if you're looking at how this offense funneled targets to these wide receivers through the first 2 weeks when you had both A.J. Brown and Julio Jones playing, A.J. Brown led this team in targets both weeks here. So I mean, you should expect a little more volatility at the wide receiver position. So those natural dips that you're seeing from some of these guys, that maybe should just be expected. We need to roll with the punches here. Understand that A.J. Brown will come back and he will most likely put up a very impressive game against the Jacksonville Jaguars if he does play with no Julio Jones. And he has the talent profile. He has the role in his offense. I have no question going through and just betting on A.J. Brown for the long term. Now, our next question's coming out from FPL Dallas, who says, drop Elijah Mitchell or Trey Sermon to waivers. I don't know who the lead running back is, and I need the extra roster spot. Okay, so I'll say, I think that both of these running backs are in consideration to just be on the fringe of your roster here. Now, I know a lot of people want to assume that Elijah Mitchell is going to come in and automatically is going to be this lead running back coming back from injury. I will say that I would not be surprised in the slightest to see Elijah Mitchell command 60% of the touches in this backfield. But a big thing that I need to discuss is the fact that here with Trey Sermon, I think he was impressive enough this past week. He had the team investment coming into the year that possibly you're going to see this as close to a 50-50 backfield split. And if it's going to be close to a 50-50 backfield split, you can't start either one of these guys. I know they're each going to have a role in this offense going forward, but realistically, that role's not going to be large enough. You're not going to have enough production here to start either guy without an injury to the other player. So I think at this point, just knowing that when both running backs were healthy, Kyle Shanahan was deciding to use Elijah Mitchell consistently ahead of Trey Sermon. Now, I like Trey Sermon more coming into the year, but that didn't really matter because Kyle Shanahan told us in multiple weeks, by week 1, making Trey Sermon inactive, and in week 2, playing Trey Sermon behind both Elijah Mitchell and JaMychal Hasty. I think you probably would rather have Elijah Mitchell at this point. Now, our next question coming out from Daniel C., who says, flex Clyde EdwardsHelaire, Leonard Fournette, or Antonio Brown in a full PPR format. So personally, I'm just going to go Clyde EdwardsHelaire here. Now, with CEH, I know y'all are so tired of hearing me say it if you go out to the live streams a lot. I mean, I've said this phrase maybe 20 times in the past week. This is a player that we were higher on compared to consensus when his value took the all-time dip. We are buying low at an all-time point based on the fact that we are looking at him saying, okay, well, if you look at the snaps, if you look at the touches in this backfield, I mean, Clyde EdwardsHelaire is getting everything through the first 2 weeks. And I mean, while yes, the production wasn't necessarily there, understanding how the overall offense should flow and how Patrick Mahomes will be able to effectively move the ball down the field. Hell yeah, give me a 3-down running back in one of the best offenses in the NFL. Well, since then, over the past 2 weeks, while yes, keep in mind that over the past 2 weeks, that's when Clyde EdwardsHelaire, he's had the 100-yard rushing performances. That's when he's been hyper-productive in fantasy. I am literally less excited about Clyde EdwardsHelaire going into week 5 than I was going into week 3. And I know that is probably just crazy if anybody's going to hear me say that. But you're looking at it as a fact now that Darrell Williams has continued to expand his role. every single week so far this season, whether you're looking at snaps, whether you're looking at touches, to the point where now Darrell Williams is getting like 50% of the touches inside the 10-yard line for this Kansas City Chiefs offense. So I think Clyde EdwardsHelaire definitely is a sell high player for us. I think we need to lower your expectations from what we had over the past 2 weeks. And I know people are going to get mad at me for saying he was a buy low, then a sell high. Don't get mad at me. Be happy that you were able to get a profit. Be happy that you were able to flip a player, take that production and profit at the same time. And here with Clyde EdwardsHelaire, you still have to play him over Leonard Fournette and Antonio Brown. I mean, this is a spot going up against the Buffalo Bills. I know the Bills have a good defense, but at the same time, I would imagine that it's Kansas City. They're going to be able to push the ball effectively down the field. I think this will be a spot that is one of the highest scoring games of the season, potentially, knowing that the Buffalo Bills will also not let their foot up off the gas, and they'll continue to pass aggressively against a very bad Kansas City Chiefs defense. So yeah, I think you actually play Clyde EdwardsHelaire here, given the nature of this overall matchup. Now, our next question going to be coming out from JWN, who says, Odell Beckham Jr. or Cole Beasley, points league head-to-head. Okay, so this past week, I was telling everybody against the Houston Texans to bench Cole Beasley, bench Emmanuel Sanders, understanding that the Houston Texans were not going to put up a large enough fight to make it where the Buffalo Bills continue to throw the ball in the fourth quarter. What did we say last week? We said, when you want to be starting Beasley, when you want to be starting Emmanuel Sanders, it's going to be whenever you had the Buffalo Bills going up against a hyper-productive offense. You want them going up against Dallas. You want them going up against Kansas City. You want them going up against a team that can actually put up points. Well, that being said, I like Cole Beasley this week. You can't like him over Odell Beckham Jr., though. I mean, with Odell, this wide receiver that's been seeing like 27% of his team's targets. He's had 9 targets on average over the past 2 weeks. This is someone that just has the role, even if it's a much tougher matchup, and I like Cole Beasley this week, you have to go Odell. Odell's just in a completely different tier. Now, Dylan coming out with our next question says, Cole Beasley or Laviska Shenault? Here's where I think you can go through and consider Cole Beasley, like we previously discussed. I'll say this is one of those questions that I think is going to be so razor thin that it's almost just up to you if you want to make this call right here, because obviously we know DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault will have that expanded role in his offense, but Cole Beasley has the matchup, so I really think that is just entirely up to you. Now, our next question will be coming out from Dylan, who says Trey Lance or Aaron Rodgers. Now, you know there's nobody higher on Trey Lance than we are. Like, we built this entire brand based on the idea Trey Lance over Justin Fields, Trey Lance over Justin Fields, Trey Lance over Justin Fields. I mean, how many times have we gone through and screamed that into the haters this offseason? We got a lot on the line with Trey Lance here, really hoping like there's going to be no game that I'm watching closer than that 49ers-Arizona Cardinals game. With that being said, with the matchup that Aaron Rodgers has against the Cincinnati Bengals, I think you have to go Rodgers. I mean, with Trey Lance here, I'm not going to lie. I know the production looked fine this past week. I mean, especially from a fantasy football standpoint. Keep in mind, that's how we were evaluating Trey Lance is as a fantasy football quarterback, knowing that he would be stepping into an elite situation and he would have an elite rushing ceiling. But still, the majority of that passing volume came off that one busted play to Deebo Samuel. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers going up against a bad Cincinnati Bengals defense. Probably got to go Rodgers here. Now, our next question coming out from Alex says Clyde EdwardsHelaire or Damien Harris. So obviously Harris has a very strong matchup against the New England Patriots. Y'all know I didn't necessarily like Damien Harris coming into the season, but I mean, based on the idea that he has this great matchup, I think he's a lot more appealing this week than he is previously, because we know that with Damien Harris, the problem is he's not going to be a passing down running back. Well, against the Houston Texans, you're not going to have to throw the ball aggressively. You can actually just win with defense and running the football. And we're also going to be looking at Javonte Williams here. Javonte Williams in a tough matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where Melvin Gordon looks like he's probably going to be playing. I'm not going to be considering Javonte. I think you actually just go with Clyde EdwardsHelaire for the reasons that we have already mentioned. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure you go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel to enter in to win a Fantasy Flock Network hat on our next video. And most importantly, go check out those player props on Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. Go through the link in the description of the video to get entered in to win daily additional Fantasy Flock Network hats. Also, get a max deposit bonus. And like I said, my birthday is tonight, so go through and definitely give me that birthday present of just using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. I promise you nothing supports this channel more. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I almost said stream, and have a great day.